can you do me a favor? Let's see if we can agree on this. Pull up the Neil deGrasse Tyson video, okay? Let's see if we can agree on this. So here's a clip. I want to know what you think about the scientist, what he's saying. Whether you and I can agree that this is absolutely ludicrous, or you may say, no, I think there's a point here. Go ahead and play this clip.
Point is, apparently, the XXXY chromosomes are insufficient. Because when we wake up in the morning, we exaggerate whatever feature we want to portray the gender of our choice. Either the one you're assigned, the one you choose to be, whatever it is. And so now, so now just to tie a bow on this, I say to you, somewhere I think I read that the United States was a land where we have the pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
Suppose no matter my chromosomes, today I feel 80% female, 20% male. I'm gonna put on makeup. I'm gonna do that. Tomorrow I might feel 80% male. I'll remove the makeup and I'll wear a muscle shirt. Why do you care?
Yeah. No one cares about it.
What business is it of yours to require that I fulfill your inability to think of gender on a spectrum?
Okay, pause.
All right, TV Science Guy is back with another doozy. And now, correct me if I'm wrong. If any of you know better, correct me in the comments. Neil deGrasse Tyson, TV Science Guy, as I recall, I believe he got his PhD in astrophysics or something like that. You know, studying the stars, the heavenly bodies. But yeah, he's been for years now, he's been going on TV, going on the internet, talking about all manner of things about which he is not qualified to talk. He is equally qualified to talk about the gender spectrum, whatever that is, as literally I am, or you are, or any of us are. Okay? I'm not saying the guy's a hack. I'm not saying he's useless. I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm sure he's very intelligent. I'm sure he totally earned that degree and all his concomitant fame. But the fact is, he's not in his wheelhouse. He's out of his lane, just like the rest of us, because who is in their lane when it comes to talking about the gender spectrum, actually? So, you know, he can talk about it, but his opinion has no more validity than yours or mine. I'll tell you that right now. Let's see what, we're here on the Valuetainment podcast. So Patrick Bate David and his co-host, I'm sure, are going to have a few things to say. Let's see what they get up to.
So why do you care? Before I give you mine, do you agree with what he's saying?
I largely agree.
Tell me why.
So, first of all, freedom. I thought the right wing was in favor of freedom. So if people want to be trans, why do you care? I totally.
Of course, it's Cenk Uygur, who is one of the guests today. And I like that little rhetorical point he just made. Now, Cenk is a complete madman. He loses his rag all the time. He's an emotional wreck. But apparently it works. TYT, the Young Turks, they have plenty of viewers, plenty of people who apparently love what they have to say, including what Cenk has to say. But he made a good little rhetorical point there. He said, you know, I thought you right-wingers were all for freedom. Yeah, it's true, Cenk. Generally, freedom from government intervention is a hallmark of being right-wing. Or actually, I would just say American. That is one of the basic tenets underpinning the founding of the United States of America. Freedom and liberty to pursue happiness. The pursuit of happiness. Yeah. And of course, but of course he gets it completely wrong. Because nobody is going around, well, let's put it this way. Trans people, when I was young, I'm nearly 60 years old, okay? I'm not a young man. So when I was young, in the 70s, in the 80s, there were, we didn't call them trans at the time, you know, there were cross-dressers, there were drag queens, there were people who didn't conform to the typical standard social types, okay? That's always been a thing. That has always been a thing. And yeah, there are bigots who have always hated those kind of people. Yeah, just like there are bigots who hate other groups of people. And there and there are criminals who would attack people like that from time to time, just like there are criminals who would attack other types of people from time to time. The fact is, these people have always been around. What's different now, so Cenk is being, of course, disingenuous, as he usually is. He's saying, why don't you just let people do what they want? I mean, why can't they be free to be who they want? They can. They're totally free. Nobody's taken their rights away, Cenk. They have all the same rights as anybody else in the United States. What's changed as this whole lifestyle has been shoehorned into greater society and into the education system in some sort of way, as if to say that it's an equally valid way, an equally valid part of the society the Western world has built up over hundreds or indeed thousands of years, say a couple thousand years. And sorry, that's simply not the case. Okay, it's just like nobody cares what you get up to in your house. But when you bring it into the public square, well, we have community standards, just like YouTube has community standards and all these other platforms have community standards. Well, Cenk, Western society has, or at least it had until very recently, community standards.
I agree with that. And so taking away rights from people, no, we're all 100% Americans. You shouldn't take away any rights. But
there we go. He mentions it. Yeah, nobody's taking anybody's rights away. Nobody has taken away anybody's rights.
But if you get into the details, that's where some folks on the left have attacked me as a transphobe because I disagree on 2% of the issues. So you tell me what your policy you're talking about, and I'll give you my answer.
So, for example, if you one of my favorite shows, I went with my wife in Vegas. Absinthe, I think it was called Absinthe. Absinthe or whatever it was. I don't know if you've been to it or not. Have you seen the show?
Caesar's Palace.
It's
great.
Freaking insane show. But guess what it is? A lot of crazy stuff you're going to see. We were entertained. As adults, we were absolutely entertained. No problem.
Absinthe, I haven't heard of that show, but I can already imagine. I do like a drink of absinthe. I'm a big fan of ouzo, and absinthe is in that same family of drinks. I mean, just total aside. Sorry to rant on my personal drinking habits here, but I do like absinthe, and I have a friend who is a huge absinthe connoisseur, has the whole getup. He's got this whole absinthe sort of decanting device where you put water in it, and then you pour the water through a cube of sugar, which is sitting on a special flat silver spoon, perched on top of a beautiful 19th century absinthe glass. Oh, I wish I could put a picture here. Anyway, never heard of the show. I'm sure it's very interesting and very entertaining for adults.
You want to dress up, you want to do whatever, you want to be gay after you're 18 years old, go for it. You want to change your sex, you want to go from having this to cutting this, Caitlyn Jenner, do your thing. Whatever, you're an adult. Pushing that agenda onto kids and confusing people and gaslighting that, hey, XX, who knows? Maybe XY, who knows? When you start talking like that with facts, and you're a respectable scientist, not only do you sound delusional, but what you sound like is someone like Leon Black, that somebody has something behind closed doors on you that's blackmailing you, that you have to now agree with these positions. For somebody to say, how the hell did you go from being a respected scientist to all of a sudden saying, one day I can wake up feeling like a female, one day I can wake up feeling like a male, and why do you care? No one cares. The only care where I think Democrats are losing a big part of their base, where I don't know if you saw the stats that came out talking about senior boys are becoming overly conservative. Did you see this chart or no? That
they're becoming overly conservative. Yeah, apparently, what do we call it? Gen Alpha now? I think I've seen this chart he's talking about, are becoming, or at least the boys are becoming much more conservative, while the girls are becoming much more liberal, or something like that. Yeah. At the end of the day, reality always wins. Let's face it, people. The problem is we can look back at history. You know, people say, look back at history. We can see the rise and fall of empires. And when the Romans let the barbarians get closer and closer, finally let them in, and the empire fell. Yeah, it took a long time for the empire fell, several human lifetimes. So we can read about, Rome only, it took, 100 years or a couple hundred years for it to fall. Well, imagine living during that period. That's your whole life and more. So I do believe that we are living through the decline of the American empire. Absolutely. How long that decline will last before the fall comes, impossible to say. everything seems so rushed in our time. We're like, oh, next year it can't go on any longer. It can't last more than a year or 2 years. It probably can. Things can get a lot worse before they get better. And they will have to get a lot worse before they get better. But ultimately, reality will reassert itself.
It just came out yesterday or the day before. Rob, do you have this or no? Do you want me to text it to you? Type in senior boys conservative. Yeah, if you can, this is the Hill. If you can go, high school boys are trending conservative. And if you go and show the chart, there's that chart right there. If you look at that, zoom out a little bit so we can read the whole survey. Okay, so political identities of 12th grade boys, percent identifying as liberal versus conservative from 1975 to today. So look at blue, where it was at, and now, 2023, it's conservative and less liberals. This is seniors, 12th grade boys, okay? Yeah. So maybe some of these guys are just fed up with it and are like, listen, man, I'm sick of this BS, dude. Whether I identify as a boy or as a girl, leave me alone. Let me figure it out when I'm an adult. Stop imposing this idea on me.
So at the end of the day, I would say that's heartening news. At the end of the day, it's what, at the risk of sounding extremely sexist, but I am sexist, let's face it, in a good way. It's a man's world, you know. When civilized, there's a thin veneer of civilization in our society, and that thin veneer of civilization, I mean, we've made it pretty thick over the centuries, but there's a thin veneer, and when it breaks, when things start falling apart because reality starts intruding, and these mad ideologies, which are being propped up by our system, finally collapse under the weight of their own internal inconsistency and nonsense, there will be a big mess to tidy up in that world. And it will be the men who do it, just like it was the men who created Western civilization. So it's good that the men are becoming more conservative, because that simply means more realistic as far as I'm concerned. So I hope you guys like that. If you like this kind of content, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, notification bell, all that good stuff. It really helps me and really helps the channel.